Have you ever fantasized about making it to the NBA? This is most likely how it would seem. LaRue Martin. LaRue Martin is widely regarded as the NBA's biggest bust. LaRue Martin was chosen first overall by the Portland Trail Blazers in the 1972 NBA draft, ahead of Hall of Famers Julius Erving and Bob McAdoo. They thought he would be a good fit as a center because he was 6'11", and the Blazers were rebuilding. During his senior year at Loyola University, LaRue averaged a double-double of 18 points and 16 rebounds per game. He is still the school's all-time leader in total rebounds. LaRue stunned the league in his debut season, posting only 4 points and 4 rebounds per game. Both the Blazers and NBA fans had high expectations for him as the first overall choice, but he failed to have a solid year. LaRue asked his family and friends to watch him play during a game. On the other hand, the coach never let him touch the court. LaRue reflected about this moment, stating, "It was a tough pill to swallow. I was embarrassed. I had tears in my eyes. Every time I think about it, it haunts me." Javaris Crittenton. Javaris Crittenton's NBA career was cut short after he went from being a legitimate first-round pick to being in serious legal issues with the police. In the 2007 NBA draft, the Lakers selected Javaris as the 19th pick in the first round. Javaris only played 1 year in the league after a single year with Georgia Tech in a dominant high school career. He averaged 5 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists per game. He also bounced around to 4 other teams in a short period, resulting in many legal issues. His most infamous incident in the league occurred when he was caught waving his weapon in the locker room of the Wizards. He then threatened Gilbert Arenas with his weapon and entered the locker area with some fire powder. Some squabbles erupted over gambling among the Wizards teammates while traveling by plane. The teammates joked about shooting each other with their pistols, and when we met in the locker room 2 days later, he answered by displaying his own fully loaded pistol. Players were suspended for the rest of the season after the league learned what had happened. Arenas' career began to suffer due to the incident, while Javaris' career almost ended. After signing his contract, he was picked up by the Bobcats and released 3 weeks later. His absence from the locker room had legal ramifications, as his pistol had been obtained illegally. After being charged with illegal gun possession and spending a year without a job in the NBA, Javaris got into more legal trouble after trying a drive-by shot on a man who robbed him. The drive-by was a complete failure because he shot and killed a mother of 4. In 2011, he was charged with manslaughter and pleaded guilty. In 2015, he was sentenced to 23 years in prison, with the remainder of his basketball days confined to 1 hour per day outside the chains. James On Curry. James On Curry, despite being a highly touted player coming out of high school, only managed to play a couple of seasons in the league before retiring. Early in his high school career, James On Curry appeared to have a lot going on for him. During his final year at Eastern Alamance High School in North Carolina, he averaged 40 points per game, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists. This outstanding performance earned him a berth on the Oklahoma State University squad, where he put up respectable stats. After 3 college basketball seasons, James entered the NBA draft in 2007. After 51 picks, he was selected by the Chicago Bulls. We immediately demoted him to the D-League. Despite the fact that the D-League paid well, the Bulls waved him off with no hard feelings, handing him a $100,000 check as compensation for his error. With his NBA future looking bleak, James turned to foreign basketball for help. Following a brief victory in his job quest, the NBA was once again interested in him, specifically the Los Angeles Clippers. During the 2010 season, the Clippers offered him a 10-day deal. Finally, James had the opportunity to show that he was still the dominant high school player he once was on the court. Playing against the Celtics at the time provided an even better opportunity to impress. That might have happened if he had gotten any playing time, but instead he was subbed in for the final 3.9 seconds of the game, guarding Rajon Rondo. James On never touched the ball in those 3.9 seconds of defense, and he has no NBA numbers. No one comes close to James On's 3.9 seconds among the 9 NBA players who have played 1 game. He was released from his contract 4 days later, never to return to an NBA court. You know, if you think about it, I'm probably the best paid player per second in NBA history, James Ahn said of his brief career in the league. Anthony Bennett. Anthony Bennett is regarded as one of, if not the greatest, NBA draft busts in history. Injuries and a lack of maturity kept him from achieving all-star status. Bennett, who stood 6 feet 8 inches tall and weighed about 250 pounds, was a dominant force in basketball throughout his career. He was recruited to the University of Nevada in Las Vegas after dominating his high school career. He had his playing time cut short due to a variety of injuries. Bennett averaged 16 points and 8 rebounds per game despite his limited playing time. What was even more astounding was his shooting range percentage of roughly 53%. Later in his freshman year, he was injured again, this time to his shoulder. Despite his minimal playing time in college, he decided to enter the NBA draft after only 1 year. In 2013, he was taken first overall by a rebuilding Cavaliers club, surprising the NBA. Better himself was taken aback. He was a complete failure right away. He needed 33 games to reach double figures in points. To put things in perspective, nearly 2/3 of the first round picks did it in their first game. It was the first time in NBA history that a first round choice took nearly 3 times as long to score double digits as any other first round pick. He scored 15 points and grabbed 8 rebounds in the game before the Cavaliers lost to the Pelicans. The Cavaliers traded him to the Timberwolves a year later, which was not surprising. His performance didn't change much, if at all. He averaged 5 points and 3 rebounds per game in his second season in the NBA. The Timberwolves waived him after buying out the remainder of his contract. The Raptors saw Bennett as an opportunity to re-establish himself as a player capable of beating anyone. To give him another chance in the league, the team offered him a 1-year contract. He was the first-round choice in the history of the game to be asked to play for the D-League squad after not obtaining enough playing time. The Brooklyn Nets picked him up one last time before he left the NBA to play overseas. Kwame Brown. Kwame Brown was one of the most anticipated athletes entering the NBA draft, but his career was cut short due to a lack of attention and just shutting down during games. Kwame Brown was widely regarded as the top high school athlete during his senior year. He finished his senior year with the most shots blocked and rebounds in school history. He averaged 20 points, 13 rebounds, and 6 blocks per game as a senior. Kwame decided not to seek any college offers after playing in the 2001 McDonald's All-American game and graduating from high school, instead declaring for the 2001 NBA draft. "If you choose me, you'll never regret it," Kwame stated to Wizards head coach Doug Collins after working out with the team before draft night. Michael Jordan, who was in charge of the Wizards at the time, opted to take young Kwame as the first overall pick in the 2001 draft. Kwame was tremendously overhyped during his debut season with the Wizards, when he barely averaged 4 points per game. Despite this, Wizards officials refused to think that their first-round pick was a dud and worked hard to prepare Kwame for a stronger season next year. He finished his career with the 76ers, averaging 1 point and 3 rebounds per game. That concludes today's episode of NBA Worst Players. We'll see you in the next one.